Close the door!
So we bring them back into they bring us back into the basement, and then they give us this whole. They take our blindfolds off, give us this whole speech about how the fraternity's got to be a clean, neat place, and that's what your job is. And they hand a toothbrush to each of us.
Oh,
we're like, what the hell are we doing with this? And they break us up into groups, and now in 2 or 3s, you have to go, and you don't have to necessarily. Some people had to use a toothbrush. It depends on what you're doing. But like some of us had to paint things. Some of us had to clean the toilets.
Man.
The worst thing was the grease trap. The kitchen grease trap. It took like an hour, and you had to get all
so you must be like
shit out. Went in from cooking. It was
so at
terrible.
this point, you mean like you must be like F you, bro. Like why are you making me do this?
You start at like 9 p.m. and you are still cleaning at 3 a.m.
Holy shit!
You're cleaning.
Oh my God.
But they leave you as time goes on. They start to leave you, and they and because they're doing something else. So what happens? Like they would bring you in. This was very funny. While you're cleaning, they would bring you into their room, and the room would be. You come back down, Mark?
Yeah.
So they bring you back. So they started to leave you alone. And when you're left alone, you're like tired. You're bullshit. You're like. So I'm painting with a buddy.
With a toothbrush?
No, I'm painting with a paintbrush, right? And we're all painting this wall, and I look over at my buddy Bob Benedict, and I look at him, and I go, "Hey, dickhead." He goes, "What?" And I go, "Got paint on him." He goes, "Fuck!" And he gets paint back at me, right? And we get in this big paint thing, and finally some people come in and like, "What the hell are you doing? You're gonna paint? Clean that goddamn mess up." So then we gotta clean the mess up. But what the hell do we care? We're there anyway. We're showing our commitment. But it turns out the reason they left us alone is because they've got this other thing that goes on during this evening.
Yeah.
They bring you into one of the bedrooms, and they sort of they put a blindfold on you wherever you are, and they bring you into a bedroom, and they sit you on this thing, and the thing has like a toilet seat.
That
It has
movie
like
chair.
it's like a,
other way.
It's like you're sitting on this thing, which I realize as time goes on is basically a bucket turned upside down with a toilet seat on it.
Okay.
And you're sitting on this thing, and then they undo your blindfold, and you're looking forward, and it's as if I'm right here, and you three are. 2 of you are in judges' outfits, like a black robe with a
like
hood.
a justice, like
with a gavel. And one of you is like that, but you have a Nixon mask on. and in the middle of the table is like two candles lit up, and the first thing they say is, "Look into the light." You're like, "I'm looking at the light," and they go, and then they start saying, "We have reports of disrespect to the building that you've been in a paint fight. Is that true?" You're like, "Yeah, I was in a paint fight, but it was all in good fun." "You think that's funny, having a paint fight? We're trying to clean this place up and you're screwing it up. What's wrong with you?" And then you're trying to answer and you barely can get 2 words out, and they go, "Do you know who this man is to the right of me?" And I look over and I go, "Richard Nixon?" And they go, "Why do you think he's here?" And I go, "I have no idea." "What do you think of him?" And I go, "Well, he was impeached. I mean, what do you think of him?" I don't honestly know what I think of him. "Well, do you know that he was a brother here at this fraternity?" And you're like, "No, I didn't." "Now, what do you think of him?" And they're going on, "Look into the light! Look into the light! What's wrong with you?" And so you're going on, and these guys are asking you questions, and then finally one of them looks at me and goes, "If the fraternity was an animal, what would it be?" They're asking.
He's just fucking with you, right?
Well, yeah, it turns out, but you're not thinking that. You're thinking this must be some rite of passage, right? Initiation.
Yeah.
What is it going to be? So I'm thinking. So I said, apparently most people would say, it's a lion, it's a bear, it's whatever. I'm an engineer. I'm thinking, well, you know what? I think it's an amoeba. An amoeba? What the hell are you talking about? And they go, it all comes together. And
that's actually very smart.
All this stuff. And they start asking about that, and then they all seem to get really mad for some reason I don't know, and they're yelling at me to turn into the light, and the next thing I know, boom, the thing over my eyes is there. Nixon's giving the peace sign as they put it over my eyes, right? And they drag me out and put me back out there, and I'm like, holy shit, what was that? I mean, am I in? Am I out? Is this good? Is this bad? I have no idea.
So that must be a total like mind fuck, right?
Total mind fuck. Totally fuck.
That's
this
the
is
goal,
my
though,
point
right?
to you. This is my point to you. Why, if you ever do happen to join a fraternity, and there's pros and cons.
Fraternities get dangerous, though, right?
Well,
Because I heard there's like initiations that people have died, right? They've killed people in the initiations.
There have been, which is why, not in our fraternity,
No.
but that's my point about why it's okay, whether you join a fraternity or not, whatever. I mean, if you don't join a fraternity, you'll have fun doing other things, right? I had a great time on the rugby club, which I started, right? And we would do lots of fun things similar, and all the drinking and fights and shit that you get into, and
Actually, in fact, guys, I think most schools don't have fraternities. Only some schools have fraternities, right?
yeah, I don't.
Like
I
thought
a lot of
I
them
thought it
had.
was a lot less.
No, I think they
But
made
I'm
it
serious,
illegal
like,
in most schools.
I would think that if you counted up, I would guess more than 6 or 7 out of 10 schools don't have fraternities and sororities.
What I tell you from the trip we just took with Josh,
Yeah.
I think that 80% of them have fraternities.
Oh, really?
Sororities, yeah.
No kidding.
They might be getting less
Oh,
and
then I
less
have
in
no
terms of
idea.
their impact.
Does
So
Josh's
maybe
college have a fraternity?
they do have
GW?
fraternities, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't. And my
Georgia.
point to him was, it doesn't. I mean, you find your things at college you like. It's not that fraternities are the only thing, right? I think they can be fun if you find the right group of guys.
Does
and
MIT have fraternities?
They do, yeah.
Wow.
What
And
about Harvard?
has fraternities.
They
Yeah,
do?
Yeah, Harvard does.
Huh.
BC,
Can you imagine Harvard? Harvard that doesn't.
Wouldn't be you guys.
By the way, there's a lot of other fun things. Like once you're in the fraternity, we had Greek Sing, so it's this huge competition where you did show tunes, so you'd all sing and you learn how to sing. I didn't know how to sing, and we had somebody in the fraternity that was really good at that stuff, and he was the director. And you went in and you competed. It was fun. We had booth where you had for homecoming, you all built booths, these huge booths that people could walk around in 2 layers, 3 floors, and they were temporary for a weekend, and you'd have competitions about that. I mean, there were a lot of there's a lot of fun things. Not that the parts I'm telling you aren't fun, but it isn't all just about drinking
Yeah, and partying.
and having partying. I know that's what we all think about it. But my main thing is, like, as long as it's a good group of people, you like them, you think it'll be fun, then go do it. And if it isn't, or if it ever gets unsafe, just tell them. Because think about it. Every fraternity goes through these sort of as you point out, mind fucking things. And my point is, so that means that if it gets if you're too worried about it, you just got to tell the guys to screw themselves, right? And by the way, if they take that in the spirit of they'll think that's great. You just in an environment where people wouldn't usually stand up and say that, they'll think it's funny that you stood up and say that. And if it's too much for them, then screw you. You don't need to be in that group. Go find some other thing. Right? I don't know. That's this is exactly the discussion I have with my son, which is, and by the way, I also tell him that like you said the what would you say right at the beginning about drinking, like the
shotgunning.
the shotgunning thing. There's 3 ways you can easily die. One is to do a whole bottle of alcohol in one big shot, which some knuckleheads, I always say, some knuckleheads will do. It doesn't mean you should do it, right?
Yeah.
Well,
The other
you'll
would
die
be,
if you do it. That's
right,
okay.
yeah. And it's
You'll
some
die.
kid, actually a friend of, this is why I had the discussion with Josh, because a friend of ours' friend died last year doing that, right? And you'll look on the YouTube and you'll see some guy doing that with some brown liquid. It could be iced tea. You don't know what that guy's doing, right? And by the way, or he could be an idiot and somehow he lived. But if you take a whole bottle and chug it, that's just a bad deal. Or if you did they had this thing called the Puke-a-thon at our fraternity where you raise money, for drinking as many
Oh, you
beers.
raise money for it?
No, to raise money by drinking as many beers as you want and then
What?
puking.
Like
I didn't
a good
participate.
cause, so it's like
It's good in
but
some way,
think
but it's
about-
like.
What even?
nasty.
How is that a good
It
cause?
said you raise money though.
They raise money.
You chugging?
There's
No,
good and bad
well,
in
like-
everything.
It's like there's pros and cons. There's
No,
pros
for
and
money
cons.
for the frat to organize
You're gonna be a
events, money for.
politician.
You're good.
No,
You're
I mean,
chugging beers. You chug beers. Whoever pukes the most wins, or something
Whoever
like that.
chugs the most beers wins, so that you then puke in order to chug more. My point is, I didn't.
Oh right, you got to
participate.
clear it out and then you get back.
My point is, I didn't participate
Kids
because
nowadays.
it's just not like it's just the concept is stupid. It's better to stand up in your fraternity at the weekly meeting you have, which by the end of 4 years you will be bored to death with because you have to debate every little dinky thing with the fraternity
Right.
brothers to figure out what you're going to do. But better to stand up in that meeting and say, "This is a stupid idea. Let's do something more fun and better that."
Yeah.
That would be good at it. So, or doing more than a couple shots, like 3 to 5 shots. I mean, 3 to 5 shots is one thing. 20 shots is another thing. Sorry to get on that, but I've had now 30 years to think about this
That's cool.
in terms of what the
need to bring
goods
him
and the
I've
things
got
are
him
and
here.
how people should react. Right?
Yeah, I
know.
mean,
So.
Yeah.
you ever hear
what
of
was I gonna
Groucho
say?
Marx?
Huh?
Groucho Marx?
Groucho Marx. What's that?
Yeah, I think the Groucho Marx approach, I think it was Groucho that said, I wouldn't want to be joining a club that would have me.
Yeah.
That's right. If a fraternity wants you, just don't join.
So Adam,
Yeah.
you've traveled all around the world, correct?
I've traveled around a lot of it, not all of it. I got more to do.
What has been your favorite country you visited?
You know, that changes over time, right? Like when I first went to Japan, Japan was so different. Than
What year did
anything
you go to
I'd
Japan?
19. First time, 1989, 88.
What's different about
I went with a girl in 1988. I was in business school.
You went
It was-
to
it was-
Japan.
Yeah, it was between
with a girl? Was
years-
she your girlfriend?
No, I had a girlfriend. She and I went at Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And we visited a couple of the guys I was in school with. I was at MIT and business school, and 20% of the class was Japanese at that point. It's not the case today, but Japan was really on a rise. It was a huge economy at the time, and there were a lot of people from Japan going to business school here. And so we went over at Christmas to visit, go and see Japan, and we stayed with a lot of them, or met lots of them. And we stayed at a hotel, and so Kelly was, 5'7" blonde woman. Really nice from the south.
Was she in business school also with you?
No, she was just.
She was just a friend of yours?
She was a friend. I
Okay.
mean, she was my girlfriend.
Right.
Anyway, we go there, and the entire time I was in Japan, every place we'd go, because they didn't. At that point, they'd seen Westerners, but they didn't see huge numbers of Westerners. And Kelly was sort of quintessential representation of a Westerner, a Western woman.
Where was she? She was born in the
Caucasian,
South.
blonde hair, 5'7", very attractive.
Yeah.
And every place we'd go, we'd introduce ourselves, and they'd look at her. You are so beautiful. And then they'd look at me and go, you are so lucky.
They tip your cap to you.
Oh my God, everywhere we went for 2 weeks. That's all she got. I'm like, I hope this isn't going to your head.
Because it's like that Derek Jeter commercial. Did you see that one when he
No.
retired? Everyone in New York City would go around and they would tip their cap to him. That was
Well, they should have too, right?
So
And
what?
they would have all tipped their hat to Derek Jeter in Japan too,
Right.
right?
Was that your
They
favorite?
love-
So that was your favorite trip.
Well, it was just so different, and it was the first time I was to any place so different than the United States. I mean, I'd been to Europe before that.
So you said you were 19 in 85, so that was 89, so you were 23.
23, yeah.
Was that the first time you had ever left the country?
No, I lived in England when I was in second grade. And,
Really? Oh.
Yeah, and I lived in Israel when I was in ninth grade for a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we'd gone, and I traveled across Europe to get to Israel. We drove across Europe. And
Oh,
drove
so you
back,
okay? So
But I'd been a
You'd
lot
been
of
around.
Europe. So I'd been through Europe a lot. I don't think other than Europe and Israel, if you consider Israel Europe, that I've been a lot of places. But
at that point,
but Japan was just so dramatically different. Have you
Because
guys ever
it's-
seen what's the movie? Blade Runner. Have you ever seen Blade Runner?
I just watched it the other day.
Blade Runner. I mean, most of that.
One of the greatest movies of all time.
you say
And it is.
you say that about every movie made
Well,
back.
I'm telling you.
Most of that. You know that.
Tell me why.
futuristic- Yeah, go ahead. Tell me why.
No, listen.
Yeah, no. Most of that
You know
futuristic.
that futuristic city that they put in Blade Runner right at the beginning?
Yeah.
I mean, that's Japan. That was Japan in 1989. They
look
got
a
it
little
from
bit like
Japan.
that, yeah.
Because
I mean, in what they imagine Japan would
what's
be
the
in the future.
furthest east you had been before you went to Japan?
East?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would have been Europe. I mean, to be fair, I went through and while the
Because you said it was so
while the
drastically
Cold
different
War
than everyone
was
else.
still going on in a different way. So let me describe. When I moved to Israel in ninth grade and we drove across Europe, we went through Eastern Europe. This is before the wall came down during the Cold War, and so when you went to East Germany, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, you could go through those places
Without any...
without a visa, but you could only stay 2 days in each place. And they tracked you, and you did not want to be there more than 2 days. If you were, you could get in big trouble. We were going through, so we had to go through. We went from Hungary to Romania to Bulgaria to Yugoslavia. And what was amazing about that, and it's very impactful from my recollection, because what was amazing is it was like going through the Industrial Revolution. When you were in Hungary, things were pretty modern. Actually, that was when
Back
you were
in
in
89.
Budapest in 89, in 80,
You said
in
this...
70.
Oh, right, because this was before...
76.
This is when you were a kid,
Yeah,
right?
it was when
You
I
were
was a kid,
driving up.
yeah. But so Hungary was pretty modern. You could get lots of stuff. Then you go to Romania, and all of a sudden you see a lot less trucks, and you see a lot more horses. And you see a lot of people coming back from the fields with horses and sickles, not even tractors.
So it's...
And then you go to Bulgaria, and there's sort of food in the supermarkets, but not a lot.
You know
And
who's
then-
famous for being from Romania, right, guys?
Who?
Vlad the Impaler.
Is he? No. He's got to be in wrestling, right?
No,
Is he a wrestler? Do you know
Vlad-
Vlad the Impaler?
seriously?
No. History? Is this
No, he's a real.
Do you guys know Vlad the Impaler?
I have no idea who Vlad... He sounds... Is he
Come
killed?
on, let's
is he
hear it.
Never
killed-
mind.
Let's hear it.
No,
We want to hear it. We want to hear it. You can't leave us
No
with
idea.
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, seriously.
Not finish it off. Come on.
I
The
think-
vampire. He's a vampire.
Oh!
Vlad the Impaler. So he's a character.
That's it. No, he's a real.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Where's he come from? How would we all know?
From
him?
Romania.
I thought everyone knew that the vampire, the whole story of vampires
No.
came from the
Oh,
Romania.
I
Well,
know
everyone
the name,
knows
but
that.
I didn't know Vlad the Impaler.
Was the
This is
original
like
vampire?
like what do you call the turkey at Thanksgiving? I call him Thomas the Turkey. Do you guys call him Thomas?
You call your turkey Thomas the Turkey.
Thomas the Turkey.
No, I just call him just a turkey.
You don't have a name?
You
You're
name
calling it dinner.
You name
What
your
dinner?
turkey.
Dinner.
Yeah, you name your turkey before you eat it.
I thought everybody called him Thomas the Turkey. I thought that was the American
Wait,
name. Clearly, Mark thought that Vlad the Impaler was how we all referred to.
No, it's just
Vlad the
No,
Impaler.
because what's the name?
hell?
of the
That's a sick
The
nickname.
historians actually from BC
Yeah.
investigated the story of what's his name? You know, the original vampire guy. What's his name?
Dracula.
Dracula. If you'd said Dracula,
Yeah, everyone
we
knows
understood.
Dracula.
But you went one step deeper. So tell us, is Vlad the Impaler well known?
Yeah, he's some guy that he fought against the Turks, and he for some reason I don't know.
And he impaled a bunch of people?
1400s or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
and he would
impaled
impale them. He'd stick them up on sticks.
Oh, jeez.
Like a
Jesus.
like a kebab.
Stick them up there, and I think he did it to show
Roast
them.
Roast him on the campfire.
Don't mess with Vlad the Impaler. Yeah,
No one would ever mess with a guy named Vlad the Impaler.
exactly.
That's
Oh,
so. Wait. So you went from Hungary, which was you said modern, right?
Hungary
And you
pretty
drove-
modern.
Yeah, hungry.
I mean, I went from
'Cause you went-
Vienna or Austria, which was totally modern Western, to Hungary, which was pretty darn modern, to be fair.
To then Yugoslavia.
To Yugoslavia. When you got to Yugoslavia, they had very few trucks. They had
Yeah.
all the agriculture was
'Cause- but
being
that-
done in with horses and sickles, and we were driving. When you drove, you would go along a highway. You would come to a suspension bridge that was way above a river, and halfway through the bridge there'd be a massive boulder with a hole in the middle of the bridge, and everybody's just sort of going around the boulder, but very slowly. And so they're looking through, and I remember my parents had nightmares about driving through Yugoslavia. It was, a beautiful country, but it was in the Stone Ages.
Right.
Yeah.
How many countries have you been to?
Now,
Like, yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly, but probably
Like
50. 50,
Wow.
60.
Okay.
Because if you look at my career, I've now been responsible for business and marketing and
Oh, you're in marketing.
Asia.
So
I started in sales. We could have a whole conversation
Yeah,
about
so-
sales.
Oh, okay.
Then went
Alex.
into business, and then was
last question.
and then I've been a CEO and started a couple companies, but that sort of led me a lot to Asia. I mean, a lot of the business in our
Right.
lifetime has
Well,
migrated to Asia.
When you
So
do that kind of job, you have to travel a lot.
Yeah.
So last question.
Wait, you can't count airports though.
No,
Yeah, you
not
can.
airports, not airports.
You don't,
See,
you don't
you
count
can't count
airports?
No, you can't count airports. It's
Really?
It's like a
You're only
transfer.
like
You don't
there in
even-
the airport.
Well,
you
then I
haven't
guess-
explored. You haven't
I guess
like,
I've
gone
never been to
outside.
Philadelphia then.
Right.
have?
Not if you've just been to the airport.
Not the
So last question. What has been your biggest accomplishment through your eyes from your working career so far?
So this is related to work, not family, because I would have.
Yeah,
I mean,
just-
my family is
just
probably
your-
the
just
most
your
important
working
thing,
career.
Right, if I was
Yeah.
to talk about it, just my working career.
But not Josh.
I mean, that's. What I would tell you is there's a lot of things you want to think about in business and what you do and stuff. But to me, and this is a little different answer than maybe what you're looking for, but to me, you got to always make sure what you're working on is something that you really enjoy and is fun.
Yeah.
And if it isn't, by the way, you should immediately either be changing that where you are to be something that you enjoy and is fun, or looking for someplace else to be at a place where you can do the thing that you enjoy and fun. Because think about it, you end up working, you have to work. I mean, everybody works 40 hours a week, but in general, people work 50, 60 hours a week, right? Easily, a lot of the, often.
Unless you.
And wouldn't you rather work? I would rather work on something I love that I get up in the morning and I think I can't wait to do it.
Yeah.
And then 50 and 60 hours a week than something that I really don't like and is a grind and I'm not happy about 40 hours a week. I would rather put in the extra time to do it. And so one thing I'd say is I've been really lucky in that for whatever reason, I've always had that attitude and that feeling, and I've always worked in an environment where I've enjoyed what I've done. So that's one thing.
So your biggest accomplishment
my biggest
throughout your career is
accomplishment-
that you've always done something that you've loved.
That's one, and then the second, I've always generally worked with people that I like
Okay.
and enjoyed,
Wow.
and have been challenging to me, so that it's a really good environment.
Stimulus
where
environment.
stimulated environment. I mean, I guess you could argue that the business I just sold after all this time was the biggest accomplishment because we built a business with 300 employees and sold it to a big company and all that, and that's sort of in line with something that I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
But that's sort of a byproduct. That's the thing that comes out of it. Probably more important, and the thing that I value more is the two things I said at the beginning.
Okay. Well, that was great. Thanks for joining us.
That was fun. I appreciate it,
We
guys.
would love it. We would love it if you came
Thanks,
back.
guys.
Sure.
You'll
love
come
to
back.
come back.
You'll come back every
Thank
time.
you very
Next
much.
time we can talk about other stuff.
Yeah, we could talk about your business career.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sales. I was coming to tell you guys all about sales and how you could use the sales process to get a lot of stuff done that
Next
you guys
time.
might
Next
like.
time.
Next time.
Next time.
Definitely, we want you back. You'll come back.
All right.
Particularly how to use the sales process to get a date. That's
Oh yeah.
Okay. That was episode 3, the AQUATICS podcast.